benefits in future lifetimes, you need to know how to accrue merit as well. To go beyond limitations of the world-bound aim in life, to avoid a meaningless life, it is important to have an aim in life that runs a little deeper. While recognizing that we do have a kind of aim, we need to accept that our salary is only a means to an end. While we all suffer from physical hunger, we also suffer to a greater or lesser extent from a hunger of the spirit or the mind as well. If the mind is left hungry, it will deprive your life of a sense of meaning. The upshot of which is that alongside your worldly pursuits, you also need to find time to reach towards a higher spiritual dimension. With this thought in mind, we come to the second level of aim in life, which you could refer to as the heaven-bound aim in life. The second level of aim in life is known as heaven-bound because it extends beyond the mundane world and this existence. Setting yourself up properly in a way that conforms with that heaven-bound aim in life consists of three components, namely avoiding unwholesomeness, standing on your own 2 feet, and cultivating virtuous speech and action. Avoiding unwholesomeness and standing on your own 2 feet are the same as for those with the world-bound aim in life. However, on this level, we have the addition of virtuous speech and action. We cast our mind back to the virtues comprising benefit in the hereafter, which we met up in the second blessing, then we will remember that there are 4 things that we need to do to set ourselves up properly on the heaven-bound level. The strength of spiritual aim in life we are talking about means that we need to cultivate the faith or confidence that doing good deeds is of some benefit. We must not exploit or take advantage of those weaker than us. We should be generous, and we should try to become wiser as we go through life. Especially on the level of the heaven-bound aim in life, the main danger we are up against is leaving our cultivation of spiritual values until it's too late in life. In this connection, there are 5 possible pitfalls that we need to avoid, mostly to do with prevarication. Firstly, we shouldn't wait until we're too old before getting spiritual. We need to start exercising the muscles of our spiritual heart from the time we are young and healthy. We should be like the Buddha's son, Rapulva, who started his spiritual apprenticeship at the temple from a time early in his childhood. If we attend the temple from an early age, we can learn from our own and others' successes instead of having to learn from our disastrous mistakes in life, such as addiction to intoxicants, as one of the main pitfalls that comes to mind. A second caution is that we need to avoid delays in setting ourselves up properly in life. We should work hard to make sure we're self-sufficient in life at the earliest possible opportunity. Anyone who's still couch surfing with their parents should regard gainful employment as a matter of personal self-respect. The third poignant piece of advice is not to delay in paying off any debts that you might have. You shouldn't let your debts be something that you carry with you until your next life. Often there can be interest owing that cripples our finances rather than the actual principal that we need to pay back. Apart from paying back what we owe, rather than taking out loans, we should save up before making an investment rather than borrowing in advance for purchases we can't afford. Otherwise, if you die before you pay back your loan, next lifetime you'll have that debt hanging around your neck like a dead albatross. Suppose you borrow $1 but die before you can pay it back. Supposing you're an angel for 1,000 years, just think of what the compound interest will add up to in that lifetime. You might never manage to pay it back at all. The fourth piece of advice is not to prevaricate about improving on your bad habits. If you know anything about yourself as a bad habit, then drop it as soon as you can. You need to perform a personal inventory of your habits as a regular part of your practice and to improve yourself instead of wasting time finding fault with other people. Last but not least, you need to be careful of mixing up bad deeds with our good ones. And an example of that might be wishing for unskillful or irresponsible things on the basis of the good deeds that you've already done. So, having looked at setting ourselves up properly in life on the world-bound and heaven-bound levels, we should turn our attention now to a level of aim in life which involves breaking free from rebirth altogether. It might be referred to as the transcendental level of aim in life, or perhaps the unbound aim in life. There are certain people, perhaps rare ones in the world, whose awareness of the hunger in the mind is so great that they need to deal with the hunger at its root. So great is the intensity of their calling that they seek opportunities to devote themselves full time to the pursuit of spirituality, not just to improve their sense of meaning in life, but to reach spiritual perfection. They hope to purify themselves so completely that the hunger in the mind may be completely extinguished. They have to have sufficient time to devote to spiritual study without having to compromise their time in order to earn a living. They will spend their time learning the spiritual way and teaching it to the best of their ability, so intensively that the life of the householder and the family no longer holds any attraction for them. Such a level of aim in life is known as the transcendental because it is like the express lane that seeks to bring a person to the end of all further suffering and to help others to do the same. This is mostly the domain of monks and nuns, but it can also be sampled by spending time following 8 precepts or participating in a meditation retreat. This was the level of aim in life needed by the Bodhisattva himself when pursuing perfections in the lifetimes leading up to his eventual Buddhahood. This is why, even on the unbound level of aim in life, some sort of structure is still needed in order to waste no time in pursuing the goal of purifying the mind to a point where it can enter upon nirvana. On this level, even material convenience is sacrificed in order fully to cultivate spiritual development. So having looked at all 3 levels of aim in life necessary for setting ourselves up properly in life before we have our meditation today, there is time for a quick story, which in this case concerns how the virtue of setting ourselves up properly in life affected the destiny of 500 fishermen and the fish they caught over the course of several lifetimes. In the time of the previous Buddha named Kassapa, there was a gang of 500 violent robbers who were running amok in a kingdom in ancient India. Apostate householders got together with the king's army and chased the robbers deeper and deeper into the forest. Eventually, the band of robbers came to a clearing in the heart of the forest, and there they met a monk of particularly peaceful countenance. Seeing the monk, the robbers started to realize the error of their ways. Realizing they were at death's door, they were suddenly much more receptive to what the monk had to say. The monk taught them that they needed to keep the precepts, even if they had to put their lives on the line to do so, since if they were captured, no one would spare their lives. The thieves took the 5 precepts and didn't try to evade their captors anymore. They concentrated all their attention on keeping their precepts pure. Keeping the precepts meant that they could not hurt even a mosquito, let alone an armed soldier who was chasing them. Before long, the soldiers put up with robbers, but the robbers kept their word and put up no resistance. All 500 thieves were executed, but through the power of keeping the precepts, to the degree that they would sacrifice their lives, their bad deeds didn't have a chance to catch up with them at the time. They were born instantly into the heaven realm. However, the unwholesomeness of their past did not disappear, but was waiting for the opportunity to give its retribution. After a period in the heaven realm, the 500 returned to the human realm, but the karma from their violent past caused them to be reborn as fishermen, all in the same village. However, even though their livelihood meant they had to kill fish, through the power of their good deeds in the past, they still had faith in Buddhism. Even so, the fishermen continued to collect demerit as a result of their habitual killing. One day, a group of fishermen caught a giant gold-colored fish, as big as a boat. No one had ever seen such a fish in their lives. So they captured the fish alive and took it to present to King Pathanati of Kosala, who was so mystified that he took the fish to show the Buddha. The most mysterious aspect of the fisherman's catch was that when the fish opened its mouth, it had a terrible smell on its breath. King wanted to know why such a beautiful fish would have such foul-smelling breath. The Buddha revealed the story of the fish's past. It turned out that in one of the fish's previous existences, it had been a learned bhikkhu named Kapila during the time of Kassapa Buddha. Kapila learned the three Pitakas and, intoxicated with his learning, disagreed with everyone whether they were right or wrong. He would heed no admonition and followed a life of evil conduct. One day, when Kapila was reciting the Patimokkha, none of the other monks gave the responses required, and in anger he declared, "There's no such thing as Sutta, Abhidhamma, or Vinaya. It makes no difference whether you listen to this Patimokkha or not," and turned his back on them. His misrepresentation of the Dharma was thus perpetuated amongst his followers, although the other monks, including his teacher Narahans, warned him of the danger of his misrepresenting the Dharma. But he would not listen, and eventually he developed a false view. When he passed away, these false views dragged him down into the unfortunate realms for a long time. Only subsequently could he be reborn as a fish. The good karma of having kept the precepts of a monk in his past life gave him a beautiful golden appearance of the fish. But the retribution of misrepresenting the Dharma gave him his stinking mouth. Hearing the previous karma of the fish, the 500 fishermen considered all the unwholesome deeds that they had done as a result of their livelihood since their youth. They realized that their retribution would certainly be no less than the fate of the fish they caught. So they decided collectively all to become monks and to devote themselves to Dharma practice for the rest of their lives. The power of having sacrificed their lives for their precepts in a previous existence, in other words, having set themselves up properly in life, meant that before long they could all become arahants and were no longer subject to the retribution of the unwholesomeness in the karma of their past. So, now that we know the importance of setting ourselves up properly in life, especially setting up our mind with purity of intention, before we go further, let's take the opportunity to settle ourselves for 20 minutes of meditation, which today is entitled A Feather Light Touch and a UK-style loving kindness. If you'd like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself now as you listen to my guidance. We start by settling ourselves down into a comfortable position for our meditation. Closing our eyes as gently as possible. Slowing ourselves down by breathing deeply. And taking a few moments to check down through the whole of our body. To relax each and every muscle as we go. All the way from the top of our head, right the way down to the tips of our toes. And relaxing all the tensions of the muscles in between. The ideal posture for our meditation is a position of poise, where the whole of our body is fairly upright, while being comfortable, almost as if there were a thread running from the top of our head all the way down through our back, almost as if we were suspended by that thread, with our body leaning slightly forwards and upwards, and extending the back, allowing us to breathe easily, and also making it easier to find the center of our body. And inside our mind we reconnect
with the best of our meditation, not with particular experiences that we've had, but with what we can remember of the feeling that accompanied the best of our meditation in the past. A sense of joy or well-being, that accompanied the best of our meditation that we can remember. And if we can conjure up that feeling inside us, then it will bring us back to the same quality of mind we enjoyed last time round. And somehow it will help us to return to that same place in our meditation again, with a sense of lightness, a sense of the whole body being filled with happiness and joy. And we imagine that inside our body is just an empty space, a hollow cavity, without any organs or tissues, muscles or bones. Or alternatively, as if our whole body is like a bubble, with nothing on the inside, and with a completely transparent skin. Or perhaps as if our whole body has disappeared completely, and it's like inhabiting a space of our own creation. But whatever our experience of that inner space, we allow the focus of our attention to make its way gradually down to the center of our body, at that place at our solar plexus, which I mentioned earlier, or on the level of our diaphragm. Not just the place where we are looking with our mind's eye, but actually as if our whole awareness has moved down to that central point, as if our head has disappeared completely, and all our faculties, whether it be perception, memory, thought, or cognition, have come together at a single place at the center of ourselves. So we're actually located down at our center, the same place as our meditation object, whatever that might be, whether it's something that we visualize or something that we feel. So rather than looking down on it from somewhere above, it's as if we are there with the object itself. For some of you already acquainted with the observation technique, it's simply a question of seeing what's already there and following that without interfering, simply being attentive at the center. For those amongst you who are better versed in visualizing some sort of meditational object, it may be a visual object like that of a shining sun, or it might be a tactile object such as an imaginary invisible fruit, which you can feel at the center, at the point of the turning of the breath, on the same level as the diaphragm. Whatever our approach to keeping the mind on track at the center, we do so continuously with a feather-light touch, an unbroken and exceedingly gentle attention, bringing our attention back if it pivots away to any other distractions around us, or following it if there is some sort of transformation in the mind. If the thoughts are few and far between, we do our best to ignore them, certainly not letting a first thought proliferate into a second or a third. Only as a last resort, making use of a mantra if the thoughts are really too many to deal with. So we cultivate our attention in this way, lightly and gently, each to our own practice now for a few more moments in silence, until we come to the appropriate time.
นี่แหละแบบเดี๋ยวคือครั้งหน้าจะใช้ OBS โอเคไม่ดูไม่ขอบคุณมากไม่เรียนทุกเสร็จ4 ทุ่มเรียนอะไรวะเรียนออนไลน์แล้วตกลงจะซูมกับอาจารย์กติกกันป่ะเนี่ย
So we continue to keep our mind on track at the center of the body as continuously as we can for as long as we can. If our mind wanders away to anything else around us, each time we realize, we just bring our attention back again to the center as before. If the inner object disappears, we can conjure up a new one. If it changes, we just follow it in its new form, observing the way the inner experience evolves in the mind. If thoughts return, we do our best to ignore them. But if the thoughts are too many to simply ignore, we may make use of that traditional mantra, hearing the sound of the words Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, coming out from the center of the body. And in the meantime, we continue to maintain our awareness with the very lightest of touch, a feather-light touch at the center, letting our mind settle into silence until there's nothing but the inner experience for us to follow at the center. We continue in this way for a few more moments in silence until we come to time for our loving kindness meditation. We continue to keep our mind on track at the center of the body the whole of the time, lightly, gently and continuously, always at the center of whatever inner experience we've built up for ourselves as the result of the meditation so far this evening. For some people, the inner experience will amount to a sense of brightness at the center of oneself. For others, it may be more of a feeling, something like a sense of well-being, again centered at the seventh base of the mind. For others still, it may be images, large or small, centered around the middle of our body. Sometimes small like objects, sometimes much larger like whole vistas, or panoramas, where we are actually smaller than the images we see. But whatever inner experience we have, we touch our mind gently at the center. So gently that it's almost as if we are hardly touching at all. Touching with the lightness of a warm fingertip in contact with the surface of some new fallen snow. Touching the snow so gently that there will be a melting away at the point of contact, where solid becomes liquid and liquid becomes vapor, spreading outwards, rarefying outwards and spreading like the ripples on the surface of a pond, ever wider from the point of contact. In this way we extend our inner experience initially to the whole of ourselves, filling ourselves with the light or that sense of well-being, or expanding the inner picture to fill the whole of our body by a process known as the spreading of loving kindness. We make the affirmation at the center of ourselves that may I be well and happy, free from all suffering. And then we extend the same loving kindness beyond the boundaries of our own body, outwards into the room around us, extending outwards in all directions like a halo or an aura, to encapsulate all the sentient beings around us in the room where we're sitting for meditation. And we start to return some of the benefits of meditation to the world around us by making the affirmation at the center of ourselves that may all the living beings here in this room be well and happy, free from suffering, and live together in peace and harmony. We spread the loving kindness further outwards now to the whole building, wider to the whole neighborhood, outwards to the whole borough, the whole county, almost as if we were extending our loving kindness across a map seen in bird's eye view, in ever-widening circles around us, taking in all the sentient beings in that area, with the wish that may all these living beings be well and happy, live in peace and harmony. Especially at this time when so many are feeling isolated or pinned down by negativity. We extend our loving kindness as a torrent of peace, a cool tide, extending outwards to bring happiness wherever there is suffering, and increasing the happiness where happiness is scarce. We extend loving kindness outwards to the whole of the southeast, whole of England, whole of Great Britain, British Isles, whole continent of Europe, with the wish that may all living beings here on this continent be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. We extend our loving kindness across the face of the globe to all the continents of the world, as if we're extending loving kindness across the entire face of this planet, with the affirmation at the center of ourselves that may all living beings, whether on the land, in the air, or in the sea, be touched by our loving kindness, that these living beings be well and happy and free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. That will peace become a reality within our own lifetimes. We can extend loving kindness in all the 6 great directions, almost as if we were extending a beam of loving kindness outwards into the universe around us, to the front and to the back without limits, to the right and to the left without boundaries, above and below without end, extending loving kindness to all living beings in the universe, so that no living being, without exception, is left untouched by our loving kindness. Again, with the same wish for all living beings to be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. And for the last few moments of our practice, we can extend the loving kindness toward particular loved ones we might be thinking about, holding them close within the brightness or our sense of well-being at the center of ourselves, thinking of their name or their face, extending loving kindness to them in particular, especially if they are separated by huge distances. And extending loving kindness for those to whom we feel a particular debt of gratitude, towards those still living or even those who have already passed, trusting that the purity of our loving kindness can extend across the huge gulfs of space and time to reach those loved ones wherever they are to be found. We extend our loving kindness in this way for the last few moments of our practice together.
Sappa Buddhanupavena, Sappa Dhammanupavena, Sappa Sankhanupavena, Sattha Soti, Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position and gently finish your practice. So to return gently to today's subject matter of setting oneself up properly in life, it may be all very well to know about the 3 levels of aim in life in theory, but how to apply this guidance in our everyday lives, and how to know how ambitious we can afford to be. After all, if we are too ambitious, we might drive ourselves to despair. Is there an art in knowing which aspects of ourselves to change and which ones that we need to put up with for the interim? Gaining clarity about our aim in life and working out what to change and what to endure is knowing your own strengths. To see your strengths, you need to look deeper than your surface. In order to really know yourself, then you need to consider yourselves in terms of several factors. Sometimes a list of factors runs to a total of 5 core virtues referred to by the Buddha as Sara Dhamma. In other places, they are elaborated further to a total of 7, based on a set of virtues found in the Vati Sutta of the Anguttara Nikaya. Whichever set you choose to base your self-evaluation upon, you can regard the list as a mirror which you can hold up to yourself to clarify your own aim in life, while at the same time assessing your potential for ambitious changes in your life. The first quality is your level of inspiration, otherwise known as faith or confidence, or in the Pali language, sattha. You need to believe in what you're doing. It means believing that the good deeds that you're doing are really having an effect. For example, if you train to be a doctor, but you don't believe in the value of modern medicine, perhaps you would be better off doing something you genuinely do believe in. In much the same way, how much you're inspired to do good deeds may affect your ability to see them through to completion. If you know, for example, that joining a meditation group or hearing a Dhamma talk will make you less lazy to meditate, then you may need to build up group attendance or Dhamma talks into your practice. If you want to go further than this and become a pillar of society, you need to be able to inspire not only yourself, but also inspire those around you in society as well. This means believing in the appropriate things. It means train yourself to be responsible, but not be gullible. The difference between being faithful and being gullible is that the latter has no reason for their confidence. This is why wisdom is always an important component of faith. From the Buddhist point of view, the basis of faith is confidence in the existence of the Buddha, the working of karma, that doing good deeds really does give rise to good results, and the result of one's actions will have a corresponding karmic outcome. The second quality you need to look at is the integrity of your precepts. The person with integrity is probably the sort of person you would like to share your house with, or the sort of person you would trust to babysit your kids. The level of earnest in maintaining a baseline of morality and not taking advantage of others differs from person to person. A sloppy person might raise their hand with the thought of slapping a mosquito, but then remembers they're trying to keep the precepts and so chases the mosquito away as quickly as they can in case they change their mind and do some harm. Such a person's level of commitment to morality is still not very strong. A slightly more morally together person, when they realize they're being bitten by a mosquito, might still harbor irritation and chase the mosquito away without any further anger or vengefulness. A more accomplished person, whether a mosquito bites them or not, will maintain their basis of morality as a bright sphere which they perceive at their center of their body the whole of the time. In any case, we will return to the subject of integrity in keeping the precepts in the 9th blessing. A third quality is how much learning you have under your belt, technically known as Bahu Sutta. This depends mainly on the depth of studies you have made in virtue and morality. It also depends on how much you can remember of what you've learned and how much you understand too. It includes being diligent in the acquisition of knowledge of both spiritual and worldly matters by listening to many teachings. The fourth quality is knowing the limits of your own generosity and the ability to let go of the things which you are attached to. The technical name for this in the Buddha's teaching is covered by the Pali word chaka. Some people find it difficult to let go or to give up the material things they possess. Other people will not teach others anything of what they know. Others are still unable to forgive others or let go of the angry feelings they have towards certain other people. If this is the case with you, then you need to know that you are still limited in the degree of your generosity. Society can only survive because of the generosity between the members of that society. If you're still selfish or angry with others, don't be surprised if people treat you as a nobody, because a nobody is exactly who you are in the eyes of a society where everyone must share to be loved. The fifth quality is your level of knowledge, common sense and insight, referred to by the Pali word panya. Wisdom is more than just knowledge or worldly experience. Knowledge arises as a result of the power of the still mind to gain insight into the reality of situations and see through to problems at their roots. Society needs people of vision. If you develop such vision through your insight, you will be that much more valuable and important to society, and able to take on more in terms of wisdom and is more than just knowledge or worldly experience. The sixth quality is your ability to answer questions on your toes without having the chance to go away and prepare beforehand. The more ability you have in this department, the more quick-witted you are. If you're still lacking in this department, then you need to make the effort to train yourself further by rehearsing before live performances. Possible seventh, not actually mentioned in the scriptural list, but still relevant, I think, is how healthy you are. You can take on more spiritual transformation if you are in good health. If your health is compromised, then you need to reduce the scope of your ambitions for spiritual transformation. Apart from defining the limits of yourself in each of these 7 departments, you need to meditate every day, or at least sit for meditation before you go to sleep each night. If you know your own strengths, then you will also be able to set up your ability to change things successfully for the better in your life. If you are serious about clarifying your aim in life, you might try pinning this list of 7 factors on your mirror and ask yourself each day which factor has improved since yesterday. In a Buddhist context, the idea is that sooner or later, everyone will make it to the highest level of aim in life, being able to break free of the cycle of existence or samsara. However, there are certain preconditions to reaching the point where you can successfully embark on the journey to the highest level of aim in life. To have a chance at the transcendental or unbound level of aim in life, then you need to have all your ducks in a row. There are 6 ducks that are prerequisite to the highest level of aim in life. Firstly, you need to have been born in an amenable location as described in the 4th blessing, and you must have done good deeds until getting used to them, as mentioned in the previous blessing. These come together with the 4 accomplishments to give us a total of 6 prerequisites known as the 6 catalysts or accomplishments. So to list the 6 prerequisites in order, we need to have catalytic circumstances or gati sampati, catalytic timing or gala sampati, catalytic location or padesa sampati, catalytic family or gula sampati, catalytic state of well-being or upati sampati, and catalytic view or ditti sampati. These latter 4 will ensure that the merit from your past will give its fruit without delay in the present lifetime. If you find that you are hampered in setting yourself up in life in the way you'd wish, it's possible that you will have to master the blessings number 4 and 5 to contribute sufficient accomplishments to your spiritual quest to give the escape velocity that you need to forge your destiny to the full. Buddhist cosmology gives special significance to the human realm as the common market of opportunity where people can forge their destinies for the better or the worse. The human realm is seen as a way station between the fortunate realms and, at least in the diagram here, above, and the unfortunate realms below. Wherever you have come from and wherever you're going, the human realm is the place of opportunity for you to fulfill your dream. In this connection, there is a discourse called the Dhamma Sutta, which is found in both the Anguttara and Samyutta Nikayas, which describes 4 possible trajectories through the human realm. The first of the 4 trajectories is out of the darkness and into the light. The slide shows the pagoda, which is our usual representation of the Buddhist cosmos, where the human realm is the bell-shaped part with fortunate realms above and unfortunate realms below. This human trajectory is where people use their human life to turn over a new leaf on their unskillful past by doing only good deeds, and thereafter hopefully progressing only between the fortunate realms and the human realm from that lifetime forth. Even though they might be short of merit at birth or neglected by their parents, but given good surroundings or kind grandparents, for example, and with a willingness to resist the temptation to relapse into old habits, they might have the opportunity to do a lot of good deeds during their life. They will have to prepare themselves to meet with many obstacles every time they think of doing something good. For example, when they want to give alms, there may be no monks available, or it might be raining heavily. However, if they keep up the effort, in the end, they will be able to accumulate merit for themselves until the end of their life, and they can make it to the fortunate realms. However, it's not many people who can transform their destinies for the better in such a way. Deeds during their life are hopelessly handicapped by the to meet with many obstacles every time since their birth. Nonetheless, the opportunity is there for those willing to give the chance at confronting adversity. The second of the 4 trajectories is where beings descend from light into darkness. This is where people waste their chance as a human and simply use their privileges and charmed life to exploit those around them. The bad karma they amass for themselves will drag them down to the netherland of bad rebirth for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. Instead of building upon their advantages to further their goodness, they think to themselves, what's the point of doing any good deeds? Even without lifting a finger, everything has automatically been easy for me since birth. With this attitude, they spend their time maybe drunk or playing around in life, doing no more good deeds and doing unscrupulous things. And this is why when they pass away, instead of returning to the fortunate realms, they end up in the unfortunate realms instead. The third of the 4 trajectories through the human realm is where people are born out of the darkness and into the darkness. When born in the human realm, their old weaknesses gain the upper hand, and again they waste their opportunity as a human, doing no further good deeds until they are eventually relegated back to the unfortunate realm from where they came. The final of the 4 trajectories is where people are born out of the light and pass away into the light. At the crossroads of destiny, represented by the human realm, they use the power of the good deeds they have accumulated over the course of many lifetimes to progress closer to nirvana. Of course, they have many advantages because their parents have prepared everything in advance. They have the best of opportunities and things to facilitate their pursuit of good deeds. It's like a chalice filled almost to the brim at birth. It only takes a few more drops for it to overflow. Everything they wish to do is accomplished with ease. However, even such people cannot afford to be complacent. No matter whether a person has arisen in the human realm by way of the fortunate realms or the unfortunate realms, as a Buddhist, they cannot afford to be reckless. Buddhists who understand the working of the cycle of existence try to make sure that they are always born out of the light and into the light, never straying outside the 2 worlds and of the heavenly and the human realms. If you have a clear and accurate aim in life, in other words, you have set yourself up properly in life, then you'll be able to maintain and upgrade your destiny as part of your time in the human realm, going out of the light and into the light in every lifetime until you can eventually enter upon nirvana. In the time of the Buddha, there was a Brahmin couple who lived in the city of Rajagaha. The husband was an elder of the Bharatavacha clan, which was a very strict clan for its Brahmin observances. The husband had never shown any interest in Buddhism, but his wife, Dhananjani, by contrast, was a secret admirer of the Buddha and had already become enlightened at the level of a stream enterer after hearing the Buddha's teaching. One day, the husband wanted to hold a feast for all the Brahmins of high standing in the city, all the clerics of that religion. Accordingly, the husband and wife started their elaborate preparations for the feast. But when it came close to the big day, because it was the habit of the wife always to exclaim "Buddho" whenever something surprised her, her husband appealed to her on the day of the feast not to mention anything about Buddhism or to say anything in praise of the Triple Gem in front of the clerics. The wife said, "My mind is unified with the Dharma, therefore whatever I say will also be Dharma. There is nothing you can do to stop my mind from being at way." And the husband said, "And what if I take a sword and cut you into little pieces? Will that help you to educate your mind?" But the wife retorted, "Even if you were to make a mincemeat of me, I wouldn't help me from having the Dharma as my refuge. The husband didn't know what more to say, so they got on with the work of providing the feast. Everything went well until the wife slipped over on a pile of spilled rice and exclaimed, "Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa." All the clerics heard the wife's exclamation. They were so angered by what they had heard, and previously they understood the wife had invited them because she admired them. Now it was revealed that she had invited them on false pretenses. So they were especially angry because they were opposed to everything that the Buddha did. Those who had finished their meal immediately stood up and shouted insults at the couple. Those who had not finished eating overturned every plate of food on the table. They stamped their feet and walked out on the couple. The husband was so angry he didn't know what to say. He couldn't do anything to punish his wife, so he thought to take out his anger on his wife's teacher, the Buddha himself. So he buckled on his sword and he turned in the direction of Jetavana Monastery with the intention to put an end to the Buddha and his teachings. The husband walked straight up to the Buddha without paying respect, and in his anger shouted the rhetorical question at the Buddha, "What does a man have to kill in order to get a good night's sleep?" The Brahmin thought that putting an end to the Buddha was the only way he could save face and sleep soundly that night. But without waiting for an answer, the Brahmin continued, "And what does a man have to kill to cure his sorrow?" And still without waiting for an answer, the Brahmin asked the Buddha, "And so what form of killing would you support?" The Buddha knew what was on the mind of the Brahmin and coolly answered the first question with the words, "A man must kill his anger in order to get a good night's sleep. If you don't kill your anger, you will do things that you regret later, being put in a prison or punished. But if you kill your anger, you don't need to undergo the sorrowful consequences of your angry deeds." The noble ones praise the killing of anger, whose root is poison and whose crown is sweet. When the Buddha said that the root of anger is poisonous, he meant that the anger has suffering as its result. When he said that the crown is sweet, it means that we get strange, twisted satisfaction out of expressing our anger to the others or losing our temper. After hearing only these few words, Bharatavaja was impressed by the Buddha. He was so impressed that the Buddha was not angry in response to his anger. He had prepared his sword to chop the Buddha to pieces at the first unwelcome word, but instead of hearing anything to irritate him further, the Brahmin had been so impressed by every part of the Buddha's reasoning that he threw down his sword and invited the Buddha to teach him further. In the end, he was motivated to practice the Dharma further and ended up ordaining as a monk. In conclusion, putting an end to your anger is one of the ways of setting yourself up in life. To ordain as a result of a teaching is to set yourself up in faith, in the precepts, in wisdom, or in meditation. It was in this intense way that Bharatavaja set himself up in life and before long could practice until attaining arahantship. So this session I have introduced blessing number 6, setting oneself up properly in life. For my next live session with you, which will, fingers crossed, be a week on Sunday morning, I'll move on to the 7th blessing on the topic of artfulness in knowledge, which explains how to transform our study skills into a path of blessings. For good measure, I would like to remind viewers that you can email your questions about meditation or what you've heard in the lecture to the email address that you can see spelled out in the slide, and I will do my best to answer those questions on my next session. In the meantime, try to stay healthy, avoid recklessness or complacency in the face of the virus, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily. Hopefully, as a result of today's session, even if you didn't start out with a clear idea of your aim in life, you will now be sufficiently savvy and motivated to set yourself up properly in life. So for today, this is me, Prat Nicholas Thanisaro, signing off for now. So long, folks, and stay safe.